Well, hello there. Hi, I am Catherine, also known as Punch Life Back on Twitch, and of course, this is your Beyond Zero tidbit brought to you by the Matrix Guard. So that was a lot of introductions, and I'll just get right to it. Today, our tidbit is all about going from won't power to willpower and really understanding willpower and its role in self-regulation. So I'm coming at this from a very specific perspective, or this is what brought me to this little exploration, which is my health. And I'm learning more and more that health really is either our greatest helper or maybe our greatest limiting factor in our lives, depending really on how much vitality and energy we have in order to do the things that really matter to us and the things that give us meaning. So I'm paying attention to my health, and I'm aware that good health often can come down to good diet, right? What we put into our bodies really matters. And I use poor diet as an unhealthy coping strategy to uncomfortable emotions and to just stress in general. So I've been getting really curious about my own destructive habit around food and how it impacts my health. And in that curiosity, I discovered that it turns out, according to positive psychology, that the one character strength, there are 24 of them, the one that is directly tied to success around healthy eating is self-regulation. Now, okay, so unfortunately, when I did my strengths assessment, which you can do, and I'll provide a link to that, it ranks from strongest to your least strong character strength. Ranks them all in order. And guess where my self-regulation came out of 24? It was in 20th place. So, not great. So this is something I can really benefit from, and I hope you can too. So anyways, self-regulation is really about being able to regulate what you feel and what you do. It's about discipline, about really being in control of your emotions and your appetites. So while I'm talking about this through a very narrow lens of healthy eating, it's not just about that, right? Self-regulation really probably is a key to success in general, because it's what lets us do what we need to do day after day, year after year, to persevere and accomplish our goals, right? So I think this is just beneficial to everyone, and now you know a little bit more about me and what I am challenged by in my own life. So one major component of self-regulation is willpower. And so here we go, from won't power to willpower, all in an effort to bolster our self-regulation and further our goal achievement. So what is willpower anyways? Well, it's the ability to delay gratification, resisting those short-term temptations to meet your long-term goals. It's the capacity to override an unwanted thought, feeling, or impulse. And it really is, and this I think is so key, it is the conscious, effortful regulation of the self by the self. That is my favorite definition of it. So it is a reaction to internal conflict. You know you should do something, but you don't want to do it, or you do want to do something, but you know you shouldn't, right? So it is a cognitive process, and it does require effort. It happens in our prefrontal cortex, which is the newest part of our brain. It's right behind our foreheads and our eyes. It's that giant bit. And it's thought of as a cold process. Like willpower is thought of a cold process because it's rational and it's not heated by our emotions. So the decisions are coolly and calmly thought through. In contrast, our emotional decision making happens in the part of our brain that is primordial, and it's considered hot because emotions are reactive and they're impulsive. So cold is like a glacier, hot is like a fireworks, right? So fireworks are explosive, they're immediate, they're intense, and they feel incredibly powerful and insurmountable. But keep in mind that it's the glacier that carves mountains in two rivers and valleys. So another way that I think is helpful to look at this is that it's kind of like we have two different people living inside of us. The cool adult that can make decisions based on what's best for us, and especially in the long run, and the petulant child that throws tantrums and wants what it wants now, and it won't be gainsayed, right? So the good news is this dichotomy is natural and we all have it. So if you've ever judged yourself harshly or kind of beaten yourself up for the fact that you struggle with willpower, that you seem to have these two voices at war with themselves in your mind, you can be kinder to yourself and just understand this is part of the human condition that we all live with. So our willpower is that cold process of delaying gratification for long-term gain, winning out over the hot process of our petulant child. That's what willpower is. It's the cold process winning over the hot process. And it's that cognitive process that allows us to do that. And it is a finite resource. So that blew my mind. So willpower is actually finite, and it gets depleted each time we have to tell the child no. So each time we exert willpower, we exert the cold process over the hot process, our willpower goes ding and gets depleted, right? So you can think of it like a health bar in a video game. So instead of damage hurting your health bar and knocking it down, decisions deplete your willpower bar. And just like a health bar, specific actions can fill your willpower back up. And there's also strategies for conserving your willpower. And nobody knows this for sure yet, but it looks like you might be able to also increase your willpower over time. And I'll talk a little bit later at the end about how you might be able to do that. Okay, so how to conserve your willpower. These are really cool strategies that I was really excited to find. So trying to control your emotions, ignore distractions, or tell yourself not to do something all tap into that same willpower supply. So one strategy is to focus on only one big goal or one major habit at a time. Take all of your willpower and put it into one thing, right? So once that thing has become a habit, and research says that that's on average a 66-day process, you no longer need to draw on willpower to keep it up because it's now a habit and it's automatic, right? So at that point, you can bring on a new goal. So another strategy is that the saying out of sight, out of mind is accurate when it comes to willpower. So remove all of the possible temptations you can from your view. Another idea is that when you talk to yourself, try to say I don't instead of I can't. Because saying I can't reminds you of your limitations, right? You feel like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, even though, why? Right? It's just, you're a victim, right? And you have the opportunity to wiggle out of it and choose to do something. So instead of giving yourself a way out and reminding yourself of your limitations, say I don't, because it's powerful, it's determined, and it doesn't require any sort of decision-making process. You've already made the decision. So I don't tends to come from what we stand for, who we are, and again, these decisions we've already made. So it's a little trick that can help in a big way. Another idea that is maybe the mother tool, so to speak, is to pre-make as many of your decisions as possible. And you do this by creating if-then statements. So, and this can help you plan for situations that are likely to come up to foil your resolve. So for example, if you are trying to cut down or eliminate the amount of alcoholic beverages you drink, you can pre-plan going to a party or a bar, and you can say, if someone offers me a drink, then I'll ask for a club soda with lime, right? So you're pre-making a decision that you will face in the future, and therefore you won't need to use willpower in the future because you've already made the decision. Does that make sense? And this indeed has been proven to help increase self-control, even when willpower has been depleted, because it does indeed reduce the drain on your willpower by making those decisions ahead of time. Sorry, my nose is so itchy. Okay. Okay, so then the other one is you want to think of a situation that might derail your current goal, right? So this is an opportunity to do an exercise, and then write out an if-then statement for yourself. Now, keep in mind that if-then statements aren't set in stone. They're meant to be something that if they don't work out, no big deal. You can rewrite them, right? And just keep practicing them until you figure out which ones really work for you. So another strategy for conserving willpower is to replace bad behavior with good behavior. And I recommend looking at our our tidbit on habit formation to understand exactly how to do this. But the key to it is, instead of an if-then statement, you do a when X, I'll Y statement. So I know this is kind of ridiculous, but it actually does help. So for example, when I crave junk food, that's absolutely my bad habit. I'll eat a piece of fruit. That's my good habit that I'm trying to build in and replace the bad one with, right? So when X, bad habit, I'll Y. Okay, so you can also do this trick. You can postpone things for later. So instead of telling yourself, like, I can never eat cake again, in the moment when you're at a party and there's birthday cake, like, I can't eat that cake, right? Don't say that. I say I don't eat cake, and you still feel horribly restricted. You can tell yourself, you know what, not now, but later. And generally this helps you feel less tormented by the temptation. And even just postponing for 5 minutes can make a huge difference. So I'll often do like, you know what, I really want that junk food, but I'll wait 5 minutes, and if I still want it, I can have it. And it's surprisingly how effective that is, and I very rarely end up having it afterwards. So another thing is, you can always do a quick meditation and remind yourself that a craving is just that. It's a desire. It is not a necessity. And you can even imagine the craving lessening with every exhale you make. Of course, practicing gratitude is another great tool to do, because it helps put you in an abundant mindset and it lessens your feelings of restriction. And of course, to the best of your ability, if you can stay connected to your motivation for your goals, that can help, because high motivation helps overcome a weaker or depleted willpower. So people seem to somehow hold willpower in reserve when it comes to something that's incredibly important to them. Another idea is that a good mood can bolster your willpower, so you can dance, you can sing, watch something funny. And know your biological clock. Like, this is just good in general for goal setting and habit tracking, but know your biological clock and do your most important tasks when you are most alert. So for me, that's early in the morning. Okay, so lastly, the strategy I have for conserving willpower is to look at your character strengths and get curious about how you can use them in service of your goal. So which of those strategies are you considering, or are you going to use to help control your willpower more, to help conserve your willpower? Okay, moving on. How to refill your willpower. So we talked about conservation. Now we're talking about refilling it when it does get depleted. So it all comes down to self-care, you guys, and in particular 4 areas of self-care, which is stress management, eating healthy, exercising, and sleeping. Like sleeping long enough and well enough. So stress management. Our prefrontal cortex, which is that part that is where willpower can exist, right? It's that cold process winning out over that hot reptilian primordial process of emotions in our brain. It's a battle that requires immense amounts of energy. And our energy that our brain uses is glucose, it's sugar. So what happens when we are under a high amount of stress is that the stress process uses up, it just depletes our glucose brain fuel like mad. So it's a battle for energy between the stress, the demands of stress, and the demands of willpower. And willpower tends to lose out. So you want to combat stress as much as you can in your life by exercising, reading, listening to music. You guys all know this, like spending time with loved ones, meditating, doing yoga, going for a walk. And I love meditation, and I have it as a power-up because it has a powerful effect on a wide range of skills that relate to self-control. So, and it's because you're training and paying attention to your thoughts, your emotions, your impulses without identifying with them or acting on them. It's almost like meditation is an exercise in willpower. Okay, so that's stress management. Now to healthy eating. So this matters because glucose matters. Willpower uses a lot of it. And so it really comes down to getting enough brain fuel by eating regularly and eating healthy meals that sustain your blood glucose levels. So this means little to no refined sugar and mostly whole foods, plant-based. So glucose comes from healthy carbohydrates, right? So you guys know what that is. Okay. So exercising. This is so interesting. People who use willpower to exercise regularly exerted willpower in nearly all areas of their life. So remember how I was saying that it really helps to just focus on one thing at a time? That doesn't seem to be exercising seems to somehow allow you to focus on, have beneficial willpower effects on multiple areas of your life at one time. And that's when you're exercising, people who exercise regularly tend to eat less junk food, they watch less television, they study more, they save more money, they procrastinate less, they even show up late less. So, and who knows what else they do that wasn't measured in the study, right? So here's the amazing thing. Both relaxing exercises like yoga and intense physical training work. Okay, so all of us can do something, some form of exercising. And so when thinking about how much exercising you need to do, I just suggest that you go for consistency over intensity. So you find that sweet spot of what you can show up to every day. Okay, so last little bit is sleeping. You want to get between 7 to 8 hours a night. That seems to be optimal. Okay, so putting all of this into practice, if you are a patron or you are a Twitch subscriber, you have access to the worksheet. I suggest you use it because I'm going to go through it really fast. If you aren't in one of those groups, you can always join and become one of those groups. Otherwise, just pause and write notes as you go. Okay, so we're going to look at those areas of self-care and measure how you're doing currently in those areas to help refill your willpower on a regular basis. And we're going to use a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is it doesn't refill me at all. 10 is it completely refills me. So what number is your sleep? What number is your healthy eating? What number is your exercise? And what number is your stress management? And if you want to create a goal around improving your willpower, to go from won't power to willpower, you can use those numbers to help you decide where to start. Remember, it's about being consistent over time and being gentle on yourself. So just choose one of them and ask yourself, what would it take to raise that a couple points? And there's your first action. There's your first goal. And remember too that you can leverage the wide-ranging benefits of exercise by maybe choosing to focus on exercising first and trusting that it will give you the most bang for your buck. If that isn't you right now, just ask yourself, what is your most important goal? If it doesn't have to do with your self-care, what does it have to do with? And you want to check in with your motivation to do it. Because remember, being highly motivated gives you this reserve of willpower. So what about it is so important to you? And you want to check in with your motivation on that 1 to 10 point scale and just say, how motivated am I? And ask yourself, what would it take to move up 1 to 2 more points in my motivation? Another option for applying this work to your life is you could look at your goal and ask yourself, what are 3 likely obstacles that you're going to face? And then write if-then statements for each obstacle. Okay, so those are the exercises. My final thoughts, you guys. So no one, like I was saying earlier, knows yet if you actually can increase the total amount of willpower that you have. But if we can, it's likely going to happen by working your willpower muscle out. It's by doing the stuff we just went through. So you want to practice excellent self-care and you want to use strategies, the conservation of willpower strategies to go after your goals that are important to you. And again, guys, the key here is progress. It's never perfection. You want to, celebrate your victories and just be kind to yourself and honor yourself throughout this process. And to the best of your ability, keep in touch with your motivation like I talked about. You could put things on Post-it notes. I know a lot of people that do vision boards, just telling people about them. I watch so many, I subscribe to podcasts about healthy eating. I watch documentaries about it just to remind me why I care. And of course, use your support system. We're here for you. Our Twitch channel is here for you. Yeah, enough said. So thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. I think this one went a little bit longer. I hope you found it beneficial. Until next time, stay true and never settle. Mwah! Goodbye.